In the valley of Crinth Vale, where roots had become bridges and the sky wore twin moons like wounded stars, the Sapborn children were born beneath the bark. They emerged wrapped in luminescent sap, lungs tasting wood and metal alike. Their births were sung by the elder trees. Their names were carved into living rings of years. Lyrian, whose eyes held green and silver fire, was one such child. He remembered nothing of the city lights that hovered over the forest, yet the machines knew his blood. When the harvesters first arrived, great steel leviathans with drill maws and sun-black armor, Lyrian was still learning the rhythm of Vaitha's roots. The machines descended like comets, breaching the canopy and spitting white-hot breath across leaves. Commander Astrix Vorn stood in the bridge of the Leviathan and watched the world burn on his tactical screens. "Proceed to core extraction," he ordered. His voice had the clipped authority of a commander who had never been a child. Around him, the Dominion officers cheered, their armor reflecting the crimson arcs of forest fire. They called the mission salvation. The trees called it theft. Lyrian felt the first wound as if it were his own. A root in Vaitha's oldest limb pulsed and wept resin that smelled of distant rain. Around the valley, the Sapborn woke. Children slipped from hollow trunks, laughing with fear and courage, their skin threaded with saplight and circuit-thin veins. They grabbed toys of carved wood and tools of bone, but in the storm's first hours, those toys became weapons. Nothing they had planned, everything they needed. The verdant sentinels, long dormant, rose in time. Massive figures of wood, crystal, and old armor shook themselves free of soil. Their faces were tree grain and stone, eyes molten but sentient. 6 of them formed a line across the scar of the leveled forest. They did not speak in words. The root mind hummed into the mind of every Sapborn. Remember. Protect. Inside the Leviathan's hull, a scientist named Dr. Sarah Lynn watched the readings flutter and die. She had argued to the council that the sap energy was not a fuel, but a lattice of memory, a living archive. They called her sentimental. Now she watched roots braid through the ship's hull like silver thread. She could not stop the tremor in her hands. For the first time, Sarah felt truly afraid. Not for her life, but for the shame of being proven wrong about what life truly was. On the bridge, Commander Vorn watched as a drone went quiet, then another, then 100. He barked orders that went unanswered. The Dominion's HUD filled with organic green, a whole planet rewriting the meaning of metal. "Purge the interference," he shouted, but his voice looped in the speakers and came back mismatched, as if the ship itself were thinking in a new rhythm. Lyrian, small and fierce, ran along a root bridge toward the mechanized drill. Under his feet, the wood shivered like a beast. He reached the site and raised his voice, young and raw. "This is our heart," he cried. "You cannot take the heart and leave us breathing. Air without meaning." The Dominion troops aimed rifles, a moment frozen vast as old ice. Then from the ground rose the sound of every tree in the vale. A chorus like thunder played on bone. One soldier, young and raw-eyed beneath his helmet, lowered his weapon. He had a brother, he thought, somewhere in the city of iron. Perhaps he had called him to fight, perhaps he had lied. The soldier could not shoot a child at the border of the world. He sank to his knees, the weight of sap and soil heavy in his chest. Others followed, a ripple of hesitation through a machine army. In that split second, the nature of the battle altered. Not all machines wanted war. Commander Vorn chose a different path. He unleashed the skybreak cannons, twin beams that carved the night into vultures and ash. They struck the elder tree Sarath, and the world convulsed. Leaves ignited into blue flame, and roots writhed as if in mortal pain. The verdant sentinels lunged, but the cannon's iron would not yield. The forest felt the damage as a personal failure, and the root mind responded with a thing both strange and terrible. It reached into the Dominion's memory. Across the bridge of the Leviathan, whispers from some ancestral code unfurled in the helmets of the soldiers. Old songs, older than the Dominion's founding, threaded into their thoughts. They saw images of gatherings under canopy light, of ancestors kneeling and binding promises with sap and oath. Memory eroded the certainty of orders. A lieutenant remembered his mother telling a tale of roots that fed the sky. A mechanic recalled a lullaby his grandmother hummed, the same cadence as the root minds hum. Dr. Sarah Lynn's face washed with tears as the Leviathan systems blinked green. Her theory, that the sap was not inert, fuel but living archive, blossomed into terrifying clarity. The Dominion had been harvesting their own history as if it were ore. The root mine did not merely defend, it taught. Liren climbed the drill's flank as vines braided around it. He reached the core cap, a metallic disc smoking like the throat of a dying god. He pressed his palms against it, and for an instant the world held its breath. He let the saplight flow through him, and the pipe became a choir. Through Lyraean, the root mine sang images not as commands but as memories. The first pact between starborn nomads and Earth's green. The treaty sealed in sap and song that declared mutual stewardship. The Dominion's ancestors had once knelt under canopy oaths and traded starlight for seed. Commander Vorn, in a moment like a cracked mirror reflecting 1,000 ages, turned his face to his crew. Men and women met his gaze, not with contempt but confusion. The anger that once led hands to weapons now loosened into grief. He could have seized the core, he did not. He stepped down from his bridge, unarmored, and walked into the forest. What followed was not a triumph of one kind over another, but a remaking. The verdant sentinels did not smash the Leviathan. The root mine did not seed the heart. Instead, the machines and the trees became interlocutors. The drills were folded into roots. Armor became woven with bark and light. Children, Sapborn and Dominion alike, played among new bridges where steel and root braided into something neither wholly machine nor wholly plant. Years later, Dr. Sarah Lynn would record the new anthem of the valley, a low hum that combined motor tone and leaf rustle, a music of integration. Lyraean grew into a guardian whose hands could coax sap into circuits and code into growing rings. Commander Vorn took on a new mantle, learning the cadence of growth and rain, and taught his soldiers to listen. The Leviathan turned into a library, its hull lined with sapwood that remembered their names. And when at night the moonlight sifted between branches and metal towers, one could hear children singing a lullaby learned from a drill's distant heartbeat, taught by a tree once rooted in silence. In the end, the planet did not simply survive. It evolved. It sewed together the violence of past hunger with the tenderness of remembrance. The Sapborn legacy continued in children whose laughter blended with the whir of machines. A new species born of compromise, memory, and the slow, tireless work of roots. Their song would echo for centuries,